welcome back to Radio Man on a very, it's a spring-like day, I think. It's very nice out there. It's been a nice morning, and it's quite mild as well. Hopefully, this is the start of what we want, basically. Nice weather, nice warm skies, and see everything in a different light. So, yeah, welcome back to Radio Man. This is Bob Addenbrook, Be Safe with Bob. I'll just run through the contact numbers, the phone numbers. You listen to Community Radio Man, your voice, your choice, on 103.1 FM in Sheffield. You can follow us on Iman TV online, on YouTube at Iman TV online, or on Facebook at Iman TV online. If you need to speak to me in the studio hotline number is 0114 2425 200. You can follow us on WhatsApp on 0788 5599786. You can follow us on Facebook at Iman FM Radio. Follow us on Twitter at Iman FM 1031. You can Skype us at Iman FM 1031. Or if you need to speak to anybody in the studio office, the number is 0114 2420 551. So yeah, welcome back. I'm sorry about last week. I had to have a week's break due to illness, but gladly I'm back now. I just want to thank the doctors down at the walking centre in Rotherham. They're very good down there, by the way. I'm not saying they're not good in Sheffield, but I've had some good experiences when I've been into Rotherham, to the walking centre. So I just want to thank the staff down there, and the doctor remembered me from last time. So yeah, thank you. So what we're going to talk about this week? Well, we're going to do a bit of a catch-up and a bit of a we're going to tell you what's going to be going off in the next month. We're going to stop fidgeting as well. But it's all about being prepared. We've just heard the news on Sky News about some things that's happening. One particular story I did pick up on at dinner time was the anti-terrorist squad in London have potentially stopped up to 14 terrorist attacks in the last couple of years. I've spoken about this many times, actually, if you remember back, and it's all about being prepared. You've got to be prepared for anything. Anything can happen at any time. Now, we are very lucky in this country that we live in a very safe country. Very protected country, because we're protected by water from right round the border, apart from the Channel Tunnel, and also we have a very good security service and police force and armed forces that protect the welfare and freedom of the people of this country. But one thing that people must do is be prepared to assist where required. This last weekend, I've been down to my caravan to open it up. The caravan sited on the Lincolnshire coastline. Down there's a group, an organisation called Coastwatch, and they are basically volunteers, and they monitor what's going off on the coast. They monitor the shipping, they monitor people when they're actually out swimming and boating, and they also monitor for any traffic movement of people trying to get into the country illegally, and that's a big problem. That's how people can get into the United Kingdom. I can't remember how many miles of coastline we have here, but I know it's in many thousands. It's above 8,500 miles, so it's a big area to cover. And Coastwatch was set up several years ago, and they man unmanned Coast Guard stations, and they monitor the shipping, they pass information on to the Coast Guard, and they also liaise with other services as well. So they're protecting the community where they serve. So, you've got to applaud their actions on that. But going back to what they said on the lunchtime news, it actually showed you the dinghies going up and down the River Thames in London, which we know is the hub of this country. It's where the central parliament is, and it's where basically that could be subjected to a terrorist attack, which it has done in the past. If you remember going back to the IRA days, that's when people got attacked, people got blown up. But since that, they learnt a lot from that, and they put steps in place, put procedures in place, and put people on the ground to infiltrate and prevent this type of action occurring. So basically my advice to people, and I've said it many times in the past, you're not snitchers, you're not telling tales, you're not informing on people. You are protecting your community. If you see something untoward that you don't think's right, there's several numbers you can contact. The first one I would say is 101. There's other numbers you can go on. Everybody's got access virtually now to the internet. You can go on Google, you can put in MI5, which is Homeland Security, and there's even a free number for them. So if you do suspect things aren't quite right in your particular community, and you're concerned about the welfare of your family and your friends and your children, phone the numbers. Initially phone 101. Or if you've got neighbours that you can trust, go and talk to them and see if they've experienced or seen things of a similar nature, and then take a decision to contact the relative authority. And like I say, you can phone 101, you can tell them the nature of your call, and they will potentially put you in touch with the relevant authority or the relevant department. Now, I contacted Alan Billings last week. That's the Police and Crime Commissioner for South Yorkshire. And basically, I'm going to invite Alan into the studio in the next few weeks to talk about antisocial behaviour, funding, police funding, the increase in crime, the decrease in uniformed officers, and how we as a community can contribute and assist where possible to make our areas, communities, a safer, better place to live in. So if anybody's got any views on that, or if you've got any questions that you want me to put to Alan Billings, please phone in. I'll make a list, and at the relevant time when the interview gets organised, and it will, we can put these questions to Alan. Now, I'm not just going to interview Alan. I'll probably invite several other guests to attend. But it's going to be on a proactive approach. It's not going to be negative. My personal view, and this is only mine, it's not anything to do with Radio Man, is that we need to promote a more positive view to South Yorkshire. Now, there's many organisations out there, particularly like I'm going to highlight Rotherham, because that's been in the national press lately, where a couple of weeks ago they had a march by the EDL, which was policed by about so many hundred officers from all over the country, and that puts a big burden on the financial state of South Yorkshire Police, because the Home Secretary would not allow special powers to be instigated to prevent it occurring. So these are the type of questions that we've got to put to Alan, and also to our MPs in our area, because it doesn't all fall on Alan Billings' shoulders. He's there doing a job, and it's a very hard job that he's having to do because of the cuts in policing and security. And same thing with, I'm going to touch now on the fire service. I'll just announce now that on the 20th of this month, that's 2 weeks today, I shall be talking to Gary Willoughby. There's another fire officer coming to attend that covers Sheffield, and also a lady called Emma Scott, who's the CPRD FIB officer for Yorkshire Ambulance Service. And we're going to talk about people that suffer heart attacks or strokes and things like that, and what you can do initially to help those people. Now, I've just spoken to Shabir about it, and I came up with an idea. I saw over the weekend up in Halifax, up in West Yorkshire, the Women's Institute did a fundraising event to provide defibrillators in the community. and they raised enough money to buy several defibs. And once you bought a defib, you get the training to use it. Now, there's many people in the radio station and associated with the station that have suffered heart complaints, me included, and I think it's a good thing because I've used defibrillators before, only on a practice scale, but also done CPR and resuscitation techniques, and I think we all ought to be prepared for that. Me personally, I think they ought to teach it in schools. Why not start young? So that's one programme. So that's the 20th of March. It's a Monday again, 3 or 4. And then following on from that, still talking about safety. Well, it's just been announced on the Sky News that there's been a fire, or there's a fire in progress in Luton at the Asda. Now, Bedfordshire Fire Service are in attendance because there could be a large number of people there. We don't know. It could be a small fire, it could be a medium or large fire. We don't know until we get some feedback from Bedfordshire Fire Service. But this is what can happen. Now, this is where you need to be sensible. You need to know what to do if you're ever involved in a fire. Now, on the 3rd of April this year, I've got a guest coming in called Stephen Dakin. Now, Stephen Dakin owns a company called Nova Electronics in Sheffield. It's only down the road from Radio Man on 103.1 FM. And I've known Stephen, or I've known his company many, many years. I mean, I'm 62. I must have known their company for nearly 40 years. And they're an electronics company, and they repair equipment. So we're inviting Stephen in to talk about electrical safety. People might say, what are we going to talk about on that? Well, we're going to talk about things like tumble dryers, mobile phone chargers, e-cigarette chargers, the quality, the CE marking, and about safety. And it's mainly your safety, to make sure that you are safe in your house. We'll be talking about how much electrical equipment you have in your own house. Now, I don't know if people saw last weekend, or this weekend just gone, they were talking about smart meters, how they're running up big bills. Well, they're not very smart, are they? Or they might be smart for the electrical or the power companies. But you'll think how much you have in your house and how much is left switched on and how much is used during the day and how much it costs you accurately. The problem over the weekends, it's been a software problem, but that's a big problem in all computerised systems. It's down to the software and hardware. It's down to the people that make it and install it. So there's many, I'm not a big believer in having all this electrical equipment because it costs you money, and then it costs you a lot more money to maintain and pay for the extra bills that you get. Because I bet if people look back, they will notice that the electrical bills have shot up because the usage has shot up. And that's why sometimes the power companies have trouble supplying the right amount of power to you. That's why they buy things in. That's why they're building big offshore power stations, the wind farms, to provide an alternative method of providing power to people. So put that in your diary, the 3rd of April 2017, and that'll be Stephen Dakin. So same thing again, if you've got any questions about electrical, and we've got a caller on the line, so just hang on a minute. Good afternoon, caller. Good afternoon. Hello? Hello? Oh, sorry about that. The caller's rung off. We did have a caller, but they've actually phoned off. So if you want to phone back, whoever called in, please do. So yeah, we're going to be talking, we're trying to get back on track with the A to Z of health and safety. I'm just looking at my book, and basically I think we got up to about, I'm just looking now, and we got up to M. So the next one will be November. So I think we touched on it a couple of weeks ago actually about fireworks, didn't we? If you remember, we were talking about somebody that tried making a home firework on a balcony in a block of flats in Sheffield and basically burnt to his hands. So basically the story behind that is, as I used to say in school, matches never touch. They can hurt you very much. So the thing behind the N is never play with things you don't know what you're dealing with. And that can be said for a lot of things, can't it? Never drive if you can't pass your driving test. Never play with matches unless you're old enough. And especially don't play with fireworks because they will hurt you. So that's what we've got quite a bit coming up. Now, feeding on from that, just going back to the news, apart from I'm just going to make people aware about the new travel bans that President Trump's potentially going to come out with. If you're thinking of travelling to the United States of America, make sure you talk to the travel agent, make sure you've got the right insurance, make sure you've got the visa, and make sure you don't come from a country that's been banned. Okay? They're bringing he's signing a new law this week. I bet he's running out of ink in his pen actually because he's writing that many different presidential rules and regulations. So just keep an eye on that. If you have got family out in the in the States, just make sure that if you have booked an holiday, that you don't come from a country that's been banned, because it can save you a lot of trouble. Okay? So that basically wants to go out to everybody in the area. Don't matter if you're from Pakistan. Sorry about this. Sorry about that. So make sure that you are allowed to travel to the country where you want to go. And that could be said about a lot, couldn't it? Because we saw that. I saw a news clip last week about the massacre in Tunisia. And now you still can't travel there by a lot of the countries. By England aren't still recommending that you travel to Tunisia. So wherever you're going nowadays, you have to not just be reliant on your travel agent, but contact the Foreign Office. Now, if you go on the Foreign Office website, they will probably have a list of countries where you are allowed to travel. So that would be my advice as well. And that's to make sure that you're safe and sound, okay? So then, I'm just going to touch on another story because I do know where this place is actually. Because I saw a story last week where somebody climbed into a lion enclosure in South America with no clothes on. And of course the two lions started playing with the man and they mauled him, which is only natural. So what did they do? They shoot the lions. People do stupid things like that. Now, we don't know the mental condition of the person, but don't do it. Now, I'm just touching on the story about the South Lake Zoo that's been closed down because of the number of animal deaths over the last several years. And it's the South Lake Zoo. Well, that's Grange over Sands. That's where I go up quite a bit. I've got mixed views on animal safety. Me personally, I think animals should be kept in the wild. But the trouble is, man is encroaching on the wilds area by a drastic pace of life. You know, we're destroying rainforests, we're destroying jungles, you've got your poachers. So, just be careful when you are attending zoos, because sometimes the animals can get out, and follow the safety regulations. We're not too far off coming up for the commercial break. I just want to talk about Peugeot and Vauxhall. Hopefully, Peugeot are going through with the purchase of Vauxhall Motors, UK and EU. They've been talking to some of the workers at the plants in England, down at Luton and other areas, and hopefully their jobs are safe. But the truth will come out. We've seen it before where companies come into our country. Tata Steel's for once. They took over British Steel. And since then jobs have been reduced. Now, me as a normal working person who's lived in this city for 60 years, seen it all before, where companies have come in and then suddenly the companies have closed and the manufacturing's been sent abroad. Now, I'm a big believer, and I was talking to somebody this morning at Shiloh, that is a problem that we've got in our economy and in our community and in our health service, in that since we've had a reduction and rise in unemployment, and there has been a rise, people just play with figures, there's been an increase in crime, increase in demand on the NHS and many other organisations like that. So I turn the question round to all MPs out there and business people. Are you trying to destroy our country? Because we're putting that much pressure on people that we should be sort of thinking longer term. We need to know, people need to be open and honest. Because how much more manufacturing are we going to lose? Now, following on from that, a couple of weeks ago it was announced that McLaren was going to start building chassis in Sheffield, linked to the Sheffield University. And as we know, in Boeing, the American aircraft engine company, they're tied up with Sheffield University because of the technology and the knowledge we've got in the university. But what we need to see is more employment in Sheffield and Rotherham and South Yorkshire to make the people a lot safer place. And it's like it says on, I'm looking at the thingy now, the screen, Iman TV online, be safe with Bob. And that's what it's all about, trying to be safe. We've seen cutbacks in the police, which, like I said, we're going to talk about with Alan Billings. Cutbacks in the fire service again. There's a paper gone out, I don't know if people are aware, but a paper's been gone out for public consultation about the modernisation of the fire service again. So if people want to go online, they can go on South Yorkshire Fire website. They can look at what they're proposing to do in reducing the number of firefighters at night in Sheffield, Rotherham and other areas. And it gives you a chance to put your point forward, ask questions, and hopefully try and prevent things like that happening. Anyway, we're coming up to an advert now, so I shall speak to you in the second half. Thank you.
इंसानी जिंदगियों को जुल्मत के अंधेरों से निकालकर रोशनी की मिराज पर ले जाने का जरिया ये औलिया कराम हैं। इन्हीं औलिया कराम के हालात व वाक़यात पे मबनी प्रोग्राम अल्लाह के सफीर शाहिद शबीर चौधरी के साथ हर बुध की दोपहर 2 बजे सिर्फ रेडियो ईमान 103.1 FM पर।
Khan Solicitors, experienced criminal defence lawyers in defending your rights. We can assist you get the best possible outcome if you're involved in any criminal matters, including murder, drug offences, sexual offences including grooming, terrorism, fraud and money laundering. We can provide free advice and assistance 24/7 at the police station. Call us on 0114 258 3399 at 351 Abbeydale Road, Sheffield. Visit us at khansolicitors.com. Over 20 years experience in defending your rights.
अरे शमसुद्दीन भाई यहाँ कहाँ घूम रहे हैं?
भैया रौद्रम में कोई खाने का अच्छा जगह है?
रौद्रम में उम्दा और लजीज खानों का वाहिद मरकज चौधरीज ओरिएंट एक्सप्रेस।
अरे भैया तो टाइम जाया ना करो, जल्दी करो, भूख लग रहा है।
देर न लाओ, आज ही आओ ते फायदा उठाओ।
Cater to impress, Chaudhry's Orient Express, Princess Street, Rotherham, telephone 01709 555527।
हर कोई सज्जन मित्र बोले चौधरीज ओरिएंट दे पैगे रोले, कुकड़ पाए दे गोश्त कढ़ाई, आके खाओ होले होले।
Aziz Catering, the award-winning caterers specialising in weddings, engagement, birthdays, business parties or any other special occasion from 30 to 5,000 people and delivered anywhere in the UK. All starters, main course and desserts freshly cooked to order and you're welcome to taste before you order. Aziz Catering, 1 Whitefield Place, Bradford, BD8 9JB. Call 01274 488874. Aziz Catering, once tried, never forgotten.
At iLet4U, we know that being a landlord can be a frustrating business, but it doesn't have to be. iLet4U can find you tenants in under a week. iLet4U, specialist in selective licensed properties.
अगर आप मकान किराए पे लगाना चाहते हैं तो हमारी खिदमत हासिल करें और घर बैठे किराया पाएं। iLet4U पर हम आपके घर को अपना घर समझकर रेंट पे देते हैं।
Start finding tenants today by contacting iLet4U, 60 Page Hall Road, Sheffield, 0114 327 2020.
मुअज़्ज़म अली शहीद वेलफेयर ट्रस्ट के ज़ेरे एहतमाम जेलम में कायम अस्पताल में पिछले 18 सालों से इलाज मुआलजा मुस्तहिक अफराद को फीसबिलिल्लाह फराहम कर रहा है। गरीब खानदानों और यतीम बच्चों के लिए माली इमदाद दी जाती है।
With your help we can save lives, educate and help reduce poverty.
आप अपनी ज़कात, सदका व खैरात ट्रस्ट को देकर इस कार्य खैर में अपना हिस्सा डालें।
For more info call on 077 251 5561 or visit muazzamtrust.org.uk.
إعلان عاجل لسائقي سيارات الأجرة وسيارات الأجرة الخاصة وسيارات هاكني كيريج. مستر كمبنسيتر يدفع 2000 جنيه كتعويض لطالبي التعويض لسيارات الأجرة، سيارات البرستيج وسيارات الدفع الرباعي بسبب الحوادث. التعويض مضمون بنسبة 100%. خدمتنا متوفرة طيلة 24 ساعة على 7 أيام. اتصل بنا الآن على الهاتف رقم 0114-386-3386. التعويضات تنطبق على سيارات الأجرة فقط، كل ذلك وفقا للشروط والأحكام.
For the community, by the community, Iman FM, 103.1 FM.
Well, welcome back to Radio Oman on a very nice Monday afternoon, the 6th of March 2017. In the first half we were talking about what's going to be happening in the next month or so with regards to guests coming into studio, both the fire service, ambulance service and people from local businesses, talking about safety, health, that type of subject. Like I said, if anybody would like to phone in with some questions, particularly for the fire service, ambulance service, talking about electrical and also Alan Billings as well. We'll start getting a few questions together. You can contact Community Radio on Iman 103.1 FM, your voice your choice. You can phone the studio hotline on 0114 2425 You can WhatsApp us on 07885559786. You can follow us on Facebook at Iman FM Radio. Follow us on Twitter at Iman FM 1031. Skype us at Iman FM 1031. Or if you need to speak to anybody in the studio or office, the number is 0114 2420551. I've just tried to look actually for the story about the fire in Luton, but I can't seem to find anything just yet, so we'll leave that. We're going to, I think we've got the budget coming up, haven't we? And there's going to be something about new vehicles, about the increase in road tax, and also about the increase in car insurance. Now, I drove down to the Lincolnshire coast last week, and I saw a bad accident other side of Gainsborough, and these are the things that causes car insurance to go up. The other thing I noticed as well last week, I don't know if people were aware, but There were new rules and regulations coming out about the use of mobile phones whilst you're driving. And I tell you something now, I've seen more people now committing offences like that. And when you see what they're doing, some of them, they're driving at 60, 70 miles an hour using a mobile phone. Well, I don't know why government does not pass policy that all mobile phones could be blocked off while it's in a vehicle, unless it's a 999 call. Perhaps that's something that we can put to Alan Billings next time he comes into studio, because they've increased the penalty. The first person to be banned has been banned. A driver under 2 years has been banned from driving. I think the penalty is 6 points already, and I think they've doubled the actual fee as well. So it's quite an expensive hobby. And why do you need to be talking to somebody on the phone when you're driving, when you should be concentrating on other road users? Because there's some bad road users out there on mobile phones. So my advice is, if you need to use your phone, turn it off when you're in the car, and then every so often have a comfort break, which you should do. I would say every hour. If you're going on a long journey, have a break every hour and check your phone then. What's simpler than that? And then you feel refreshed, you're not waiting for the phone to ring while you're driving, and you get somewhere even quicker and safer. So why not follow that advice? Please prepare yourself for anything. It could be a blue light flashing up behind you, isn't it? It could be a blue light in front of you attending another accident. So be prepared. Now, this next weekend, or this next few weekends, the roads in South Yorkshire, in Lincolnshire, in North Yorkshire, all over the country will be getting busier. People will be saying, why? What's he on about now? Well, people are starting going on holiday. They're going down to the caravans. Caravan season started last week for most people. We're coming up to half term soon, Easter half term. That's when people start going away. And there are more cars on the road, more motorbikes, more whatever. And potentially there could be more accidents. So you've got to be more aware. Make sure your vehicle's safe, make sure your tyres are inflated, make sure your lights are working, make sure that you've got spare bulbs and clothing and, yellow jacket, torch, that type of thing. So that if you do break down, or you come across a breakdown or an accident, you can assist until the main services arrive. That is when you can use a phone, when you pull up. Okay? So, prepare yourself for this next 3 months. And then, we're not far off if you think about it, 4 months to 6 weeks holidays. Parents will be looking at me now, giving me daggers. Because now we're into March, so we've got April, May, June, July, that's only 4 months, and you're in the 6 weeks holidays. So you're talking about 18, 19 weeks to the summer holidays. Soon be here, So prepare yourself for it. The world seems to be going quicker. I'm talking 19 weeks up front. That's where things are going. I think one of the things that people need to do is start slowing down. Why rush all over? We seem to be running at warp factor 5, and then we've got HS2 coming on board that want to travel at warp factor 7. Don't know why. A to B is the safest place as you can get, with the relevant time. So, getting back to what we were talking about before, you've got to prepare yourself for every eventuality. But even when you're not feeling well, like I did last week. I thought last weekend, I can't thank the people that I spoke to enough. I followed what I told you. I became unwell one Saturday night. I had a pain that was unbearable. I phoned 111 at 4:15 in the morning. I spoke to a doctor at 4:15. At 9:30 I walked into Rotherham Walking Centre, and at 10:15 I was walking out with a box of tablets. And it was as simple as that. I didn't run to A&E. I didn't phone my doctor. I phoned 111, which is a medical non-emergency, and they put a doctor through to me. And that's what people should do. There's still a lot of press about NHS not coping, and it can't cope. If people are running to hospital for little things, minor ailments, they should be contacting 111 or going to your GP, or like I said before, or your pharmacist. Go and see a neighbour. That type of thing, Who do you know? Do you know who your neighbours are? I have a very varied week in my life. Now, you'll find out about that on Thursday, because I've been asked to come in and be interviewed by Shabir. But I visit many people in the week. Some are groups, like Shiloh, like Pathways, like Key Changes, like Mums in Need, like Forces Charity, like Liberty Church. And then I visit people that live on their own. And I might be the only person they've seen that week. And they are vulnerable. They are your neighbours. They could be your family. So, think about them. When you start watching Coronation Street or EastEnders or whatever else you're watching, why not pick the phone up and phone somebody up? Not your mobile when you're driving, but when you start relaxing, phone somebody up, see how they are. There used to be a bird on BT, Busby, and he used to say, "It's good to talk," and I think it was Miriam Carlin who used to do the advert, phoning people up, "How are you? You alright? No, right," and this and that. And that went down a great, that was a good idea. But that seems to have died the death now. A lot of people out there are living on their own. There's lots of homeless people living on their own. This morning, I went to Morrison's in Ecclesfield, along with Mick Hogan, a friend of mine, who started helping me now on a Monday, because I can't, since I had a heart attack, I can't do what I used to do. But I don't stop. I try and do what I can. And we turned up. So Anthony, the produce manager, and he gave us 9 cases of food. Now, when I say a case, it is a banana box full of food. So from there, we went down to Pathways, which is a project for children that get excluded from school. From there, we went down to Shiloh, offloaded a load of veg, then shot off to Worksop, Morrison's, and picked up a load of groceries, and then come back to Rotherham, deposited them onto Liberty Church, and then several other people, and then Key Changes before I came to on radio. And that's what people need. They not always need the things I drop off, but they need people to come in and have a chat. I've just been talking to Michelle Nicholson, who used to do the Sunday show, and Michelle's got a book coming out soon, and she's a busy lady doing a project for people that have come out of the justice system. But sometimes it's good just to say, "Hello, you're right, how's things going?" And that's what happens. Tomorrow's Tuesday. Wednesday, I'll be going to Rose's Bakery, getting more free food, and taking it round many people. I had a meeting a couple of weeks ago with a project called the Real Junk Food Project in Sheffield. A chap called Liam, and based down at Burngreave. And hopefully we're going to be doing some work with them, because believe it or not, people, In this day and age, there are 19 food banks or thereabouts in Sheffield. That's discounting Rotherham and Barnsley and Doncaster. Disgusting, isn't it? Where you need 19 food banks to feed the poor in this city. You know, I appreciate the stuff that we send abroad has to go. The people out there need it. But there's many people need it in this city as well, in this country. But I ask the question, why do they need it? And I'd love somebody to phone in and just explain to me, why do we have to have food banks? You know, when I look back, and I've got friends like Roger Khan and Shahid Sheikh and everybody, particularly Roger, whose father served in the army, the British Army, like my dad did, for freedom and democracy. And then you look back and you think, why? You know, I mean, people don't realise we're in a major depression. We are many people out there in need. You turn the telly on some nights and you turn it off because there's that many people asking for money. And that's one thing I've never done. But I spoke to somebody last week and they put me in touch with another company, which I did last Thursday, talk about more donations. And potentially we're going to get some more donations from a local butcher. I'm saying local butcher, they've got several shops to feed the needy. But sometimes when I go around these projects, you look at how much these people need and actually what they use, and there's a lot of greedy people out there. And that's been noted by medical experts about obesity being a major problem on the NHS. That's why a lot of people can't have operations, because they're overweight. Because their chance of survival with the weight they carry is lower than for somebody a lot thinner. And that's the way it's going. Until people start thinking about what they eat, the amount they eat, and actually the amount they spend on it as well. So there's many issues out there, you know. But I just want to thank everybody. I want to thank Morrison's down there, Ecclesfield and Works up now. Also Rose's Bakery, which is based in Attercliffe. And also the people that volunteer at these places, like Shiloh, Liberty, Pathways. You know, there's many nice people out there. Roger Khan, Friends Indeed. They do a lot in Rotherham. They support Shiloh. It's all voluntary. You know, you don't get paid. But it's not all about money, is it? If you know that you've helped somebody sometime in their life, you never know, it could be your turn one day. It's all about Friends Indeed and Mums in Need, and like my logo is supporting SPIN. I'm not a spin doctor. SPIN stands for supporting people in need. And, you know, when I look back over the last 14, 15 months, that's what's happened. That's what happened up in Cumbria. And they're still being supported up in Cumbria. I got offered a load of clothes today. They must have took pity on what I were wearing. Now, people offer me clothes. So why not? One thing I'm going to have to do though on Radio Man is have some lessons in playing music, because I do enjoy talking, but it's very tiring sometimes. But sometimes it's good to talk. I do a lot of talk. Somebody said today I do a lot of talking, and then somebody replied, "But you talk common sense, Bob. You don't waffle. You help people. You advise people, and hopefully make a better life for them." I've just tapped into a story here. I haven't seen this one before. Talking about money, yeah. And basically, I don't know, I've tapped into that one, but Story here. Meet the woman who lives on £1 a day and inspired on Facebook to copy her. Pat Parker set up the Facebook group Feed Yourself for £1 a day in July 2014. She didn't expect it to grow fast, but a year and a half later the group has more than 38,000 members who have together collected hundreds of tried and tested recipes. Pat, a retired widow who sometimes works part-time, came up with the idea of a friendly food focused group after spending a couple of years as a member on budget forums. Well, sounds like a good idea. It's all about not being greedy. I saw a programme yesterday about, I'm not going to say greedy people, but it was about a couple who lived in London and they wanted to get married. And the lady had actually lost, they'd only just met, I think, before they actually met up. The lady had lost 10 stone in weight after losing her mum. And she wasn't, she was a lady in her 40s, 50s. And she went on a spending spree. And her house was full of clothes with her partner. And they took them on a shopping trip and they replaced items that they would normally pay £10 and £15 for with budget brands. And a lot of the budget brands they found better. And it worked out that they've got over £30,000 worth of clothing and excess toiletries that they didn't need. But she'd done it. It's like a comfort blanket. And she got brand new clothing that had still got the tags on. So it just shows you how people can get drawn into bulk buying or spending for different reasons. You know, it could be stress relief. Well, they call it retail therapy, don't they? But I think it was a retail sector that actually introduced that. I think we're all guilty of that. Now, this last week, a friend of ours who's been on radio, Silvia Barabaska, has been over in Turkey and Greece to see the refugees, the Syrian refugees out there. And there's been one, I haven't actually spoken to her. I think she's on her way back as we speak. But the situation's not good out there. But there's reason, I don't know, there's a lot of questions to be answered by governments, especially in Greece, because don't forget Greece is part of EU. And when you see what they're doing in Mosul, basically flattening it and trying to get to ISIS out, but that could have a knock-on effect in our country. And it's like I said before, many people are now watching the borders. Many people are checking who's coming into the country. Many countries are banning them, aren't they, Mr. Trump? But one thing that you can't do is forget about these people. These people are in need. I spoke to some people down in Lincolnshire over the weekend, and they just had a massive collection for the refugees in Lincolnshire. And they think they collected it on and sort of stored it in Lincoln via an organisation in Yorkshire. But that's what they do as well. MPAC, the Nottinghamshire Police Aided Convoys. That's who Sylvia's been attached to, and also Abdul Qadir. And all I'm saying is support these charities. If you've got spare clothes, or money, or food, support it. Because the problem isn't going away tomorrow. or the year, or the day after, or the day after that. It's a long-term problem that we've got. And what really disgusts me sometimes is I was watching the football at the weekend, and there's prima donnas and Maradonas and all these footballers on millions of pounds a year. And there's people living in the streets in this country, homeless. 1 minute they're talking about reading out the wrong result at the Oscars, putting armed guards on the 2 men that made that bad move, and next minute they're bombing Mosul. And I just can't get my head around that. As a fellow human being, how can you compare a golden statue or an envelope with the wrong name in to people being murdered in Syria and other countries? It's not just Syria, it's all over the world. You know, you've got conflicts in Africa and all over. So basically, this world needs to get its act together. Can't do it all together, but we can start in this country, getting the right people, supporting people with honesty and integrity, people that will tell you the truth, and support them. And people might be thinking now, what are you talking about this? Well, it's all about keeping people safe, isn't it? Be Safe with Bob. Be Safe with Bob was set up because of the floods in Cumbria, not because of being an ex-fire officer and health and safety officer. It was about people's plight and need in another part of the country. You know how far it was away? You're talking about 100 miles. That's all. Neighbours. But yet, they were in need, weren't they? They were in big need, if you think about it, because some of those people are still not in their houses. They've still not got their insurances paid out. So, like I said before, there's many people in this country need help as well. And that's why now I concentrate my efforts on home projects to protect people, because there are a lot of asylum seekers and refugees in Sheffield and Rotherham, Barnsley, Doncaster, so we have to support them at home as well, because they're cutting back on support, cutting back on benefits, so we have to look after our own community, don't we? And that's where, like Shiloh, Spin, Friends Indeed, many other different organisations come in to support these people, because they support the statutory services that are being decimated by council and government cuts. So it basically relies on poor old Joe Public, but poor Joe Public always sort of rise out of the ashes. It's like a phoenix effect. Wherever there's a fire, there's something good that comes out of it. And we'll have to find out what's happened at Asda in Luton, and hopefully nobody's been hurt. You can always rebuild a building. So that's it for this week, and hopefully I will see you next week. And like I said, get those questions ready for the Police and Crime Commissioner, the Fire Service and the Ambulance Service. So I'll speak to you next week.